Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to Unacademy, a one-stop destination for the English medium civil services aspirants. Today, lakhs of aspirants appeared in the Civil Services Preliminary Examination conducted by the Union Public Service Commission. How was the question paper? Easy, moderate, difficult? If we compare it to last year's, whether it was an easy paper, relatively moderate or difficult, what would happen to the cutoff? Will the cutoff increase as compared to the last year? How many questions were asked from polity, from economics, from geography, environment, so on and so forth? All that we are going to discuss today. But first up, at 5 p.m. today, we will go live with the analysis of the question paper and we will discuss all the 100 questions in one go. But right now, we will have the first reaction, the initial thoughts with our English team. We will ask them individually, how was the question paper? How would be the reaction of the students when they looked at the question paper? And today was not just the test of the aspirants. It was also the examination for the teachers, for the educators. Whether the way we delivered content, whether the concepts that we taught, whether those concepts, those learnings, these classes were of some help to you. And I can proudly say, with humility as well, that we have almost covered the entire question paper that was asked in the exam. Specifically when it comes to Indian polity, if you have been following my classes, I'm 100% sure all of you would have been able to solve 100% of the questions asked in Indian polity. If that is true, do let me know in the comment section. But let's get started and let's ask the teachers one by one, what is your take on this question paper? If it comes to polity, factual questions, little bit conceptual as well, but I don't see anybody, any student who would have thoroughly attended these classes. I don't think there would have been any difficulty in answering majority of these questions. Here and there, if you would have made quote unquote silly mistakes, then you may be falling short by one or two questions. Otherwise, out of 19 questions asked in Indian polity, most of you should have got it right at least 16 times. Let's get started with Chetan sir. Chetan sir, what's your take on international relations as compared to last year?
As usual, UPSC being an unpredictable service commission, again it has surprised us. Compared to the previous papers, this time I feel it was a very easy paper. There were many factual questions. If you just look at IR, I could see more than 10 questions. Majority of them are straightforward and factual. And what is surprising is there are 3 questions from internal security as well, which is quite rare. And
Operation Sadbhavana,
CDS, right. And also the ranks of the defense services.
Right.
These are pretty straightforward factual questions from internal security. And
mostly covered in newspapers.
Newspapers in current affairs. And we have covered this in Concur Prelims as well. And also one more thing I see is that the elimination technique is back.
At least for some questions.
At least for some questions.
Right.
The moment you take out 2-3 options, you can easily get the answer. So I think it's a very easy paper this time. So maybe the cutoff could go up as well.
Right. Mukesh sir,
Sir,
geography and environment.
when it comes to the subjects of geography and environment for the past few years, UPSC had developed a trend of going very factual. So it is a very welcome change that UPSC is looking at the conceptual questions again. And there I find that 15 questions of geography and even around 15 questions for environment, most of them they deal with the portion of concepts and the areas in use. For example, we have been hammering about for the past 6 months now. I think both Chetan sir and me that Red Sea is very important this time. And you have 2 questions.
Two questions from Red Sea.
One
geography and one IR question.
So those are the questions on expected lines, and it again highlights that if you get your concepts in place, out of the 15 questions of geography, easily 12 to 13 could be done correct on any particular day. So that brings faith back into the subject of geography once again.
So if we exclude the level of difficulty in CSAT and focus strictly on GS, so cutoff may cross 100 this time?
I won't, just on the basis of geography, I won't make the comment. But then yes, as compared to the past few years, geography alone will drive more marks for the students because it is less factual. And if you start getting the concepts, you can get many questions correct.
The economist, Shyam sir, what's your take? What are your initial thoughts?
So compared to, let's say, the previous couple of years, this year's the economics paper has been pretty easy. Certain questions factual in nature, and certain questions you need concepts. But overall, if you compare it to previous years, this year's paper was pretty easy. And one area that I feel UPSC has continued the predictability is number of questions. From economics, more than 15 questions have come. And if the students have attended our Conquer Prelims, plus let's say the weekly recaps or even the classroom program, I'm pretty sure most of the questions have been picked up from those areas.
So personally, you're satisfied with
Yes,
the
sir.
level of questions asked?
Compared to last year.
Are you
this year-
relieved?
Mightily
Pretty
relieved.
much, because last year the level of questions which were asked, most of them were, let's say, unpredictable areas, which generally the faculties as well as the students don't focus. But this year, UPSC has come back to its trend.
But you had focused that in your previous sessions as well.
Yes, right. So, pretty much conventional areas, some of the questions conceptual, and a lot of questions factual.
Strictly focused on economy. Basis that, will the cutoff increase?
Definitely, yes. I feel the
Will it cross 100?
I'm hopeful it should cross 100.
Hopeful.
Looking at the quality of questions, I'm pretty sure a lot of students will score very high even in economics.
Abhishek sir, history, art and culture, ancient, medieval, modern. Were there questions from medieval India this time?
Looking at the paper generally, there is now a new trend which has come in, sir, that ancient, medieval, art and culture, modern was the basic trend. We have some questions out of post-independence, for example, the President of the Constituent Assembly one. And more than that, what has happened this time is art and culture questions have been mixed up with ancient India. Modern India is better than last year.
Relatively easier.
Relatively easier. Art and culture that way has very simple questions, intangible, tangible, Conquer Prelims, classroom program, anything.
No, we'll come to that later, but how many questions were asked from history?
I think there are 12 questions which are there, and 6 are from modern India. Permanent settlement has come through government decree 1995. Yeah, sir.
Rohitwari system. I think.
Rohitwari system, and that way, modern India is easier. Ancient is factual. That's a trend which has come through, that ancient and art and culture is factual. But I would say that it's a regression from last year. Last year, the questions were conceptual and a mix of factual. It is now straightforward factual and modern India conceptual. So cutoff that ways should be hovering around 100 because history was also manageable that ways. If you have your modern India very strong with post-independence and art and culture concepts clear, you will get through.
Bindu ma'am.
Sir, when it comes to science, the subject is very vast. Unlike one history, it is like physics, chemistry, biology, space, defense. It's a very vast subject. Till 2022, it was mostly based on the current affairs.
Right.
But last year, they neither focused on the current affairs nor from the NCERTs.
Right.
The questions were totally random and kind of bouncers. This year, it is a mix of both basics, science NCERTs and current affairs. There are a few questions like RTGs, thermoelectric isotope generators, because Voyagers were in the news recently. That was quite an expected question. And star life cycle, they have given one question, because solar storms is like buzzing the newspaper. That is an expected question from the current affairs.
So a mix of bouncers and free hits.
And no, this year there are no bouncers. There is a mix of science basics like NCERT, school and +1, +2 kind of science basics, and current affairs. There is one question on metaverse that is also a buzzword. So there are a few questions which are from current affairs which are buzzwords and very much expected. And a few questions from very basics like school books, 11th, 12th textbooks. So this is reminding us again the importance of going to the NCERTs. So I'm one way happy that there are no unexpected questions. Clearly there are two sources to study. One is current affairs, the other is NCERTs. So as long as there is a clarity on what we have to study, I feel it is a positive trend.
And one thing which I've noticed as well, there was a lot of talk that since UPSC conducts this exam, UPSC also conducts a geoscientist exam.
Okay.
So the kind of questions which were asked in that exam might be repeated here, or the pattern would be the same. But I think it's completely different from what was asked in the geoscientist
It's very different.
exam.
Very
different,
Very
right?
different.
Yeah. So in that way, UPSC has gone back to its original strengths.
Yeah.
Yes.
And for example, if you see the big 4 subjects, for example, they alone again occupy more than 65 questions,
65.
Which is true.
which is
Which may also give us a sense that continuing with this trend, CSAT may also be relatively easier as compared
As
to
compared to
last
last year, yeah.
Maybe, but then
Yeah.
the level
We
of
never
questions
know with
raise
let's
a
wait.
doubt
But still
that
unpredictable.
if the questions
But
in
normally when GS is difficult, CSAT is difficult.
Yeah.
Over the past 2 years at least.
yes, but this time, but still I would refrain from getting a cutoff of
So
100.
what is more important is that UPSC has now consistency with question pattern, because statement based questions have also come. UPSC brings in a new pattern, removes it.
Yeah.
So statement 1,
Statement one,
two
two,
is
yeah,
there.
the questions are
Elimination is back, but you also have only 1, only 2 questions.
Many of the students thought that only one, only
those.
two
Two
will
would be
there.
the
So that
standard.
way
But-
UPSC is mixing it.
They stopped applying logic, they started learning facts. So it is good that
Yes.
this is back.
There's a mix of all this.
After this initial reaction, let's
Let's
go
look at the
and
questions.
take a look at the questions which have appeared one by one. We'll discuss some of the questions today, right now, and then we'll discuss all the 100 questions today at 5 o'clock. We'll have a detailed explanation. Plus, we will also share the proof that this question was asked from which lecture, which class, which topic. All that we are going to do today, because we are, as a team, very satisfied because our hard work has also paid off. Let's quickly take a look at the questions. Chetan sir, if you can come. Let's say this was a question asked from Indian polity with reference to the Speaker of Lok Sabha consider the following statements. Now, when Speaker is presiding over the Lok Sabha, he normally does not vote in the first instance. The Speaker votes when there is a tie. Just to resolve that deadlock, the Speaker has a casting vote. But when a motion pending for his removal is there in the Lok Sabha, then what happens? He shall not preside because someone else presides.
Someone else, huh?
He shall not have the right to speak. He has the right to speak. He shall not be entitled to vote on the resolution in the first instance. That's normally when the Speaker is presiding over Lok Sabha. In case on a bill, he does not vote in the first instance, but he votes in the second instance when there is a tie. But when there is a motion pending for his removal, he votes in the first instance.
Right.
He doesn't vote in case when there is a tie. Straightforward.
So would you
factual
say
question.
factual? Yeah, factual.
Yes, clearly factual question. Let's say another question with reference to Indian Parliament, consider the following statements. And this I have at least thrice over the past 1 month made the students revise what are these bills which do not lapse upon the dissolution of the Lok Sabha. So a bill, and for that you have to understand a simple logic. A bill which is pending in Rajya Sabha and originated in Rajya Sabha, it does not lapse.
Does not lapse.
Anything else lapses.
Right. And also maybe can we say it was expected, given the elections were happening, Lok Sabha would be dissolved?
Yes, you can say that.
Expected topic as
It was expected. We didn't have a deputy speaker for the first time in the history of independent India in the 17th Lok Sabha. So UPSC did not ask a question on the deputy speaker, but asked a question on the speaker.
Yeah.
That's how you can relate to it.
Relate to it.
Similarly, dissolution of Lok Sabha bill. There are two other kinds of bills which do not lapse. A bill which is awaiting for President's assent. A bill for which the President has notified the joint sitting of the Parliament.
Right.
And also, which normally is not covered in the books, a motion calling for the removal of a judge of the Supreme Court and High Court. That also does not, lapse upon the dissolution of Lok Sabha. So a bill pending in Lok Sabha lapses on its dissolution, correct? A bill passed by Lok Sabha but pending in Rajya Sabha lapses on the dissolution of Lok Sabha. Yes, because you can see that the originator is the Lok Sabha.
Right.
For that you have to meet the two conditions. It should be originated in Rajya Sabha, pending in Rajya Sabha, it won't lapse. But since it has originated in Lok Sabha, pending in Rajya Sabha, it will lapse.
It will lapse.
A bill with regard to President has notified his intention to summon the House to a joint sitting lapses on the dissolution. It does not lapse because as I said, three kinds of bills which do not lapse upon the dissolution of Lok Sabha.
Right. So you would say this is a moderately difficult question?
No, this is easy question.
Fairly simple. Okay.
Fairly simple question. Let's take a look at another question. Prorogation of House by the President of India does not require the advice. President can't act on her own. She has to act on the advice of Council of Ministers. So this statement is incorrect. Prorogation of House is generally done after the House is adjourned sine die. So adjournment of the House, that's the prerogative of the Speaker, the presiding officer. So adjournment is with date and time specified, adjournment is with sine die. So normally once the presiding officer says the House is adjourned sine die without specifying the date and time when we are going to meet again, that's when the President prorogues the House on the recommendation of the Council of Ministers. So generally that is done, but there is no bar. Even the session is going on, the President can prorogue. Dissolution of Lok Sabha is done by President who, save, except in exceptional circumstances, does so on the advice of Council of Ministers. There is a Prime Minister who has lost the confidence of the Lok Sabha. Otherwise, every advice of the Council of Ministers is binding on the President.
Right.
That's Article 74. But if the Prime Minister has lost the confidence of the Lok Sabha, that means he has been defeated in the no confidence motion.
Right.
And any advice in that case is not binding on the President. So that is the exceptional circumstance here. These were the 3 questions that came in the order, and we discussed it. We'll discuss all the 19 polity questions today at 5 p.m. onwards. Sir, what about your international relations?
If you look at international relations, we had this direct question on Operation Sadbhavana. There was a question on exercise Mitra Shakti.
Right.
Very expected topic. Again, this is where elimination method applies.
Right.
Mitra Shakti is a
so
well-known...
elimination method is now back.
Back.
At least for some questions.
Some questions at least. If you know about Mitra Shakti, it's a very popular military exercise between India and Sri Lanka. So what I can do is I can eliminate the first statement. It says India-Bangladesh. With Bangladesh, we have exercise Sampriti. So once I take this out, if I eliminate 1, what remains is D, 2, 3, 4. So just by knowing it's an exercise between India and Sri Lanka, you can answer this question.
And you have covered all these military exercises?
Yes, cover these exercises in our Concor Prelims, in our Hindu analysis. So a very simple, straightforward question.
So you can say this is a relatively easier question.
Very easy question, yes.
And with elimination method, it makes it even more
Even
easier.
more easier, exactly. Then we had another question on the CDS, the chief
I can
of...
only see the polity questions.
Yeah, exactly.
In the first half, only polity questions are visible.
We had a question on the chief of defense staff. Now this is a surprise. Usually these topics are from internal security.
And but maybe is it also because the unfortunate killing of the CDS?
CDS, yes, could be. That could be a reason why the question has been asked. And also the position was lying vacant
for a long time. And now it has been filled.
Yeah, exactly. So again, very simple question. If you know the role of CDS, it says permanent chairman of chief of staff committee. That was the primary purpose why the office of CDS was created, to provide that unification, integration for the 3 services. So this is correct. Exercising military command over 3 service chiefs is wrong.
That's a political decision.
Exactly, yeah. The service chiefs will retain the command over their respective services. CDS does not have military command. So you eliminate 2. And again, elimination works. Eliminate 2, you get your answer, 1 and 3.
And statement 3 is also straightforward.
Straightforward.
It's their part of the document.
Yeah. The whole idea of creating CDS was to have a single point military advisor to the defense minister. And this is based on recommendations of Kargil Review Committee and Naresh.
Same, I think, sir, in internal security also.
Here as well. This is another internal security question. Sadbhavana.
Which is very popular in
Jammu and Kashmir. It was implemented in Ladakh as well.
Right.
Mainly to win the hearts and minds of the people. Maybe because of Article 370.
No, it was before that as well.
Before that as well, but in general to address the local sentiments.
Right.
So this was a initiative by the Indian Army to gain.
And that is how Army, for example, if there is a wedding in a particular area, the Army would give logistical support. Generators.
Right.
Yes.
Or even during disasters, the Army would step in and help out the people, or even in education, in healthcare. The Army would use its own services and provide that assistance to the local people.
They use their own funds to renovate the schools as well.
Exactly, yeah. Yes. So again, a very simple question here. And
sir, this question was almost repeated.
Isn't this a repeat question, right to privacy?
Repeat question. Why would they do that? But they've done this. So
maybe even
is the case with geography as well.
Yeah.
So the question has been repeated.
Right. And we had questions on delimitation, money bill.
Yes.
These were repeated topics again.
But this is straightforward repeat.
Yeah.
As if picked from the last.
Verbatim, almost verbatim. Yeah.
Maybe to compensate last year's question paper, they have made it easier.
But polity last year was also easy.
So I think
Mukesh sir would like this.
Will explain the post.
The geography question here. The longest border.
Maps also are very simple in the sense.
Very simple, yeah.
Oftentimes,
just to interrupt you, I just had a look at the ethics committee because of Mawa Moitra.
Right.
And we discussed this in the classes multiple times that there will be a question or either on ethics committee or the privileges committee of the parliament, and it has appeared.
It has appeared.
Yes, you can come
sir,
and discuss these questions.
Geography questions.
right.
So I can see history questions there, sir.
We'll come to that later.
So when we talk about geography, overall, if you consider this, it was quite conceptual to that matter. You didn't have those weird facts, which UPSC had made a habit of. First of all, the questions were ignored till the last of the page. So you see,
maybe this is a different set.
Yeah, no, overall stress on polity is there. So, but when we talk about geography, it starts from around somewhere here, right? If you consider this. For
Coriolis force.
Coriolis force, very simple thing. I mean, if you know about Coriolis force, you would know the basics. Even if you don't know why Coriolis force acts, you know these 2 to 3 things, that when the speed of the wind is increasing, Coriolis force.
But any aspirant who's preparing for this exam would know Coriolis force.
Obviously.
So can you say if you are not aware of this, then you should not be preparing for this exam or prepare better?
You should prepare better. You should look at what you are preparing, areas that you are focusing upon, and get serious there. For example, even when you consider this one, for example, on June 21 every year.
What is the answer to this question?
In this, it increases with the increase in wind velocity is correct. It is maximum at the poles and is absent at equator is also correct. So the answer is C. So here, both of them are direct. Any definition of Coriolis force will talk about this. Then, for example, this question, you were talking about the repeat of the questions.
Right.
So on 21 June every year, which of the latitudes experiences a sunlight of more than 12 hours? Now, UPSC had asked this in 2019, that what happens on 21 June with regards to solar position. So it is a direct implication of that. But here it is easy in the sense that 21 June, it is northern hemisphere tilted towards the sun. Arctic circle will receive almost 24 hours. So you have 4 in 1. And then Tropic of Cancer is on which the sun shines. So 2 and 4 is a direct answer there also. Even if you consider about water vapor, even these questions. So water vapor, normal logic that when we talk about the components of atmosphere, the components, be it the gases, be it the dust particles, everything is maximum at the Earth's surface, reduces as you go up. Why? Gravity. That is a very normal logic. So water vapor will reduce as you go higher up. Its percentage is maximum at the poles. If you were to again apply your logic, that how can water vapor percentage be maximum at the poles? There is almost no evaporation.
Even I can answer that.
So as you can see, there is quite, and these are like direct picked up from the topics, their concepts, and anyone who has attended the plus courses, you would be very happy. But the detailed analysis, I think 5 p.m. We will come up with it. But overall, question paper.
So if there are students who are watching us live right now, and they would also calculate the number of marks that they would get. If you're hovering between 90 to 100, can you consider that as a safe score? You should not worry much, focus on CSAT. In any case, you should focus on CSAT.
Yes, but 90 to 100 is the ballpark you want to be in. You don't want to be in between 75 to 85.
I don't think this is 75.
Yeah, it is not that. It is not even 80 to 85 paper. I think it is more than that.
Right.
95 to 100 is a safe ballpark, I feel, for the students.
Sham sir and Abhishek sir, maybe you can come and discuss economy and history questions. Please come.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
We start with history.
We can, sir.
Yeah.
We can. History, that way, there has been a little bit of pain which has been given to the students. For example, if you look at question number 33 and 34, these are questions which would fall, sir, both in art and culture and in ancient.
Okay.
So, for example, the playwright of Bhasra, this should be, answer should be C, and this is quite an obscure fact in that regard. So these are two, but the saving grace is that we have questions like this also, which is straight away out of the Constituent Assembly. For example, provisional president, the answer correct, but Government of India Act 1935. This is again a very interesting question because it is playing on a lot of different things. 1919 also, 1935 also. Here,
So just to interrupt you,
yes, sir.
If you look at the last year's question paper, there was this concern of the students. Most of the questions have not been asked from NCRTs. And generally for history also, we recommend to read NCRTs for the students.
Right, sir.
So this year, have the questions come from the NCRTs or just the trend has continued?
So modern India would intersect, but ancient medieval it won't, because these are not NCRT level facts.
Okay.
Because these are actually for art and culture, we don't have that kind of NCRT which would give you this type of facts.
Okay.
So yes, maybe the because art and culture questions are also current affairs based, so the NCRT again gets eliminated. For modern India, for sure, 8th class and 12th class part 3 will be very relevant. But for ancient medieval, the paper is quite tricky in that regard.
And let's say last year, couple of
Sir,
questions
sorry
were
to
asked.
interrupt you. Can we also zoom this question paper a bit?
Yeah.
Sure, sir.
Maybe we can focus on one individual question.
That is better, sir. No issues at all.
Last year, a couple of questions are asked from very obscure books, which generally no student would have read.
True.
Has the same kind of questions been asked this year as well?
Again, sir, division is ancient medieval obscure books,
Huh.
modern India standard questions.
Okay.
Modern India, and this time they made sure that if a student is not looking at art and culture in, for example, our comprehensive news analysis or our UCAN sessions, then he or she will start to struggle, because art and culture is quite static that way. But the questions directly are from your awareness. We have done Maratha military landscape, we've done Garbha, we've done the intangible, tangible heritages, and there are exactly straightforward questions. I'll take you there and then I'll ask you. For example, this question is straightforward current affairs. Which of the following are part of the World Heritage according to UNESCO? All of them are, but Shantiniketan is the context.
Yes.
They are checking that have you gone to the website Hoysaleshwar, the Sacred Assemblage Hoysala and Shantiniketan is here.
There. Haan.
Rani Ki Vav and Mahabodhi are old ones. So students should be looking at the list itself. For example, further I'll show you question number 50 and that is again a very easy question. So in history there's a contrast. Both spectrums are there. If it's very good, if it's very good, if it's, for example, this question is difficult because it is asking about archaeological sites and their nature also, not just the state. So you have to match the state also and description also. So that was ancient medieval is difficult. Art and culture, modern India is quite nice.
Also, Abhishek sir, there was a question on intangible cultural heritage.
Yes, yes, I'm going to that question also. So question number 50. Yes. This
Yes.
one.
Here.
So which is the latest inclusion into intangible? This is the easiest question taken. This is a freebie that way, and Garba would have been the answer. For some reason the students asked Durga Puja, but that is it. So, so Durga Puja used to be, but not now Garba. So sir, let's look at economics. Economics, one thing I'll ask you.
Yes, sir.
There is a certain emphasis which students put on terms,
Yes.
trends, and we have also seen export trends, oil seeds type questions.
Yeah.
So how do you now rate the question that way?
Compared to, let's say, the previous years, let's say if you take the last year question paper itself, this year the question paper was much more easier.
Right.
For example, if you remember last year, one question that created a lot of buzz was the term beta. Suddenly the term beta was asked in the question paper and a lot of the students started running towards the financial market, studying the ratios of the financial market, etc. Compared to that, if you just make a comparison, compared to that, it is much easier this year. For example, the term digital rupee. It has been there in the newspaper for multiple years now. The Reserve Bank of India trying to introduce or let's say promote usage of digital rupee in the retail segment, in the wholesale segment, and whether it is clicking or not clicking, etc. It is a sovereign currency issued by Reserve Bank of India, right? Those students who have appeared for, let's say, Conquer the Prelims initiative, or even in the classroom, we have had a discussion regarding the concept of a digital rupee. And because this was there in the newspaper, pretty much guaranteed. Last year, we expected question to arrive, and surprisingly, there was no question. And this year, there is a question on digital rupee. Right? So, pretty much straightforward, nothing, let's say, nothing beyond the expected lines. Is it a sovereign currency? Yes, it is. It's basically like a money which is issued by RBI. It appears as a liability. Any money that is issued by Reserve Bank of India will always appear as a liability in the balance sheet of RBI. And this is basically a digital rupee. Instead of giving a hard copy or a hard currency note, RBI is issuing a digital copy. Right? It is insured against inflation, any money for that matter. It's never insured against inflation. And in fact, the recent current affairs discussion regarding, let's say, money, why central bank is shifting towards purchasing more and more gold. Why every central bank is hoarding a lot of gold. Reason is very simple. Money will lose its value over a period of time because of inflation. Apply the same logic. Nothing different. Apply the same logic. It is freely convertible. Yes. If you have digital rupee, you can convert it into your fiat money. So,
and that hoarding of gold was also in news for the past few minutes.
We had a discussion regarding that in multiple, let's say, the UCAN sessions as well. Right. Why RBI is hoarding so much amount of gold? Is there any logic? Yeah. And apart from RBI, what other banks are doing, etc., etc. Right. So this is one question which I think if students have understood.
Now I want to join.
Please, please.
Another question.
Sir, I will grill you on few questions.
Yes, sir. Please. Question number.
Pick your question.
Answer. Question number 51. Again, not purely economics, but I'll tell you the context. I'll tell you the context. When we are discussing budget and finance commission, I discuss, let's say, finance commission, 15th finance commission, and the terms of reference of 16th finance commission.
Normally, would the students would have read these kinds of concepts, or it would have been over the top?
This kind of a concept, it's available. May not be in a book, but in the classroom, what generally happens is students will ask me,
no, I'm not asking you whether you have taught this or not. I'm sure you have.
Yeah.
But I'm asking generally the way students prepare. Would this fit in a normal routine? That, okay, this automatically they would have covered. For example, they would have covered money bill. They would have covered speaker. Would they have covered this?
Yes. Most of the questions I feel they would have covered. right? Either in the book or one or the other
So
sources.
you can say this is an easy question.
Yes, I'm pretty sure this is an easier question because this was there in the newspaper as well.
Demographic dividend
Yes.
is so much in discussion. So
16th Finance Commission, 15th Finance Commission, right? Because of that, this kind of a question, I'm pretty sure that you have seen that.
In India, which of the following can trade in corporate bonds and government securities?
This I do not think that the students would have read in sources, but in the classroom definitely is. Whenever you discuss, let's say, government bonds or what are the importance of corporate bonds, why should we promote corporate bonds, we tell the students, or I generally tell the students, who can invest in a government bond, who can invest in a corporate bond, why should he invest in a bond?
So again, a conceptual question.
Yes.
But if you have been preparing thoroughly for this exam, this is an easy question.
Yes, this is a pretty much easy question. This is not at all a difficult question.
was it also because of the reducing private consumption that we have seen in the economy, the corporate
This,
bonds?
I feel the reason behind this is entry of foreign investors into government bonds.
Right.
The government of India is trying to promote the idea of internationalization of rupee, and very recently the government bonds have been included into the global indices, bond indices.
So
in
again,
that
a
particular
straightforward
context.
question from current affairs.
Yes, sir. Yes, if the students have read current affairs, they would have definitely read what is a corporate bond, what is the importance of it, why government of India is promoting all of this, and government bonds straightforward.
In fact, Sarma sir, I saw there were some questions which are from current affairs but requires a common application of mind.
Yeah.
Right.
It may not be explicitly mentioned anywhere, but if you have basic common sense, I think you should be able to solve them.
logic,
Like there was a
static.
question on declining population in some countries.
Italy.
Italy, Japan, South
Japan.
Korea. If you apply your mind, I think you should be able to crack those
And
questions.
very
that has-
recently there was a discussion, India is trying to enter into labor mobility pacts with other countries.
Right.
Some of the countries, Taiwan.
Yeah.
One of the reason we are trying to enter into that is there is a declining population rate there.
Yeah.
So
And that has always been the trend that UPSC thankfully has gone back to.
Yeah.
That current affairs and static
Link it to
portion
the static
associate
portion.
You
linked to
can't
the-
ignore the static current affairs and the understanding of
That
this
is why
application.
when all of us thought about a program for civil services aspirants 2024, we spoke about two programs. We had two programs, Conquer Prelims on the Unacademy platform where we discussed the static portion.
Static portion,
And
yes.
Conquer Prelims on the YouTube channel where we discuss current affairs for the last 1.5 years.
Yes.
So this is an old model.
This is the trend. Last year there was a departure.
Right.
Yeah.
You had absolutely unique static, absolutely unique current affairs.
awards.
Yeah, so this is a very welcome change. This is good for the aspirants who are planning for next year, year after that. It is a very good news for them.
So if you have not prepared well, if you think that this was a difficult question paper, you need to go back to that strategy which
Earlier
we call
model.
KISS, keep it simple strategy. And that strategy is focus on static portion, link it with current affairs to the past 1.5 years. You should be more than enough to rock and crack this exam.
So absolutely.
Over to you, Shamsar, again.
one more question. Right. Let's say, consider the following. Exchange traded funds, motor vehicles, currency swap. The question is on the concept of financial instrument. Again, very basic question. In, let's say, concept of financial market, or even when you divide investments which are done by households, the division is,
Sorry to interrupt you
Haan,
here,
sir.
because what my student would be eager to
Yeah.
understand, could you have used elimination method here?
here. Definitely yes.
How?
If you know that motor vehicles, right, if you look at the motor vehicles, it's a physical asset. And if you talk about stock, bond or currency swap, these are all financial instruments. So whenever you have this, use the 2 and eliminate 1 and 3, use the elimination method, you will be able to get the answer. Right. So again, the logic is simple. Most of the questions which have come in the economics, either they are conceptual in nature or a mix of concepts as well as the basics. Unlike last year, bouncers are very less this year, and most of them have been connected to current affairs.
Sir, but-
There is a question, sir.
Can I then say that if a student has to prepare, only rote learning will not work. If you can't apply the knowledge,
Yes.
then it won't work.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
That is the paper. That is the
Absolutely.
paper.
Yes.
Because if you go by history or economics, even polity, I
Any
think
of the
everywhere, all subjects, it's not just only. If he thinks that I will just ratify Lakshmikant, that is not going to work. If you can't apply,
That might still work.
so that will always work, sir.
But for economics, it will not work out, sir. But one thing that has happened because of the last year's question paper, one good thing has come out is students are more focused on the concepts now. Because they have realized that if I simply memorize everything and if the questions are only one of the statement
I
is
think
correct.
most of the students, they lack guidance. They are still veering towards collecting as many books as possible.
They want to become collectors.
Book collectors.
Book
Yes.
collectors.
Sir, they are still
Not district
thinking that
collectors.
UPSC is pre-2018.
For
Since
example,
2018, UPSC has changed quite a lot. Now they're asking the student to use logic, to use their mind.
This I think is a similar type of question paper which was asked in 2013.
2013,
2014,
2016,
Yeah.
2017.
Yes.
Right.
17 was absolutely conceptual. This is something revert to that I'm saying. And for example, there is a lot of panic amongst the students even for topics such as maps. What do we study? What all do we learn? Because you had random dams being asked.
Yeah.
If you take a look at it this year, Red Sea was in news. Red Sea has been asked. North Sea was in
But
news.
this might not happen next year.
But this is a trend that UPSC reverts every 2 years, which
Yeah.
tells you that this is a long trend. There might be aberration one year or the other.
In the last 3 years, we have got a lot of map-based questions.
Yes, and for example, even when we talk,
Even when there was a conflict between Israel
And Palestine.
yeah, the borders of Afghanistan,
Yeah, and any
borders of
conflicts in
Ukraine.
Africa. Africa
Yeah.
has been a favorite topic. We have got a lot of
Yes.
questions this time as well.
Even the rivers and tributaries,
Rivers and
they
tributaries.
could create so much of panic.
Right.
But this time it is absolutely
Yeah.
logical. They have gone with River Ganga, so
So, sir,
stick to the
asking us
basics.
same
So
question
that is
before-
why when in fact we were discussing a list of constitutional amendments, what should be read, what should be understood. The 106th constitutional amendment, which talks about women's reservation, it was in the news,
Yeah.
enacted, and we had a question,
Question
on
on
that.
So we can say that stick to the basics, keep it simple.
Update
You will
with
achieve.
And
current
sir,
affairs.
I'll rather
Don't
add-
chase facts.
I'll rather add with correct guidance and understanding of current and static. Because it's not just static, it's not just current affairs.
The linkage
It's the
is very
sweet spot.
important.
Huh.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
That
linkage is very
where
important.
the experience comes in, where there's guidance comes in. You can, if you can't get that right sweet spot, then you will start to struggle in this field.
Hima ma'am, can we now have a look at science and technology questions? First up, what are your thoughts? We have discussed that, but maybe students are joining now. What are your thoughts on science and technology, the kind of questions that appear today?
I feel that UPSC slightly reverted to the previous pattern. The questions are mostly from the current affairs and mostly predictable questions. Whatever questions are not from the current affairs, they are from the school books, NCRT
Which school
books.
books? NCRT, basic
books,
NCRT.
NCRTs. Okay, some basic biology, like peas belong to so-and-so family, okay, basic classification. So the questions are quite predictable. Either they are from the current affairs or from the NCRTs, they are quite predictable and quite simple when compared to the last year. So let us discuss some particular questions, sir. Yes. So one question is from Metaverse. Because Facebook changed the name to Meta, since that time Metaverse became a buzzword.
Right.
It is a combination of cryptocurrency, bitcoins, and it is also including the social media and virtual assets like NFTs. So altogether mixed concept is called the metaverse. It's quite expected question because it's been a buzzword, and the answer here is metaverse. And after that, there is this question about the RTGs, that is radioisotope.
You're also going one by one.
Yes, radioisotope thermoelectric generators. First of all, RTGs are miniature fission reactors. There is this point about the nuclear fission, and RTGs are not based on the principle of nuclear fission. They are based on the principle of radioactive decay. So this point, if we can eliminate, then the other 2 points, like, because once if we know that this is not the right point, then the other 2, like here also the elimination
And just to tell
procedure
the audience,
works.
this is not your marking. This is the question paper that we have received from a student.
Yes, no, that
Apparently,
is not
this
my
student has
mark.
got most of the answers wrong.
This student has not
Most of
Yeah,
Let's not reveal the name.
Unfortunately.
Right.
Most of the question answers are.
And I just hope that he is not watching. Then he will.
This is random. We had a guy who was waiting outside. One
Yeah.
of our employees
So
was
whoever
waiting
came
outside
first.
the exam center. So he just got hold of one student, took the
So the-
snap and shared
Still
it.
all
So the
the best
lesson
for
is
CSAT.
don't
Yeah.
come
All
out
the
of
best
the
for
exam center fast. We took the paper from the person who took the fastest. from
In
the
any case, we
exam.
have to wait 2 hours. They won't wait for the question.
No, all the best to him. CSAT is still left.
Yes.
He would not know that this is his.
And hope he will not watch this particular discussion between the 2 exams. And they are powered by onboarding systems of the spacecraft. Why this question came? Voyagers.
Which is correct.
Yes, Voyagers are the spacecrafts which are launched by NASA in 1977, and they are kind of about to complete 50 years birthday, and NASA is particularly kind of excited and ambitious, excited and ambitious to celebrate the 50th birthday of Voyagers. So in that context, and not only Voyagers, NASA is actually using this RTG concept in more than half a dozen of its spacecrafts. And also ISRO is planning similar technologies.
Was this in the news?
Yes, sir, very much in the news. Because
also
recently
Voyagers became the farthest object.
Voyagers, the plutonium fuel is getting completed. So in that context, they turned the Voyagers into the energy saving mode, like we keep the mobile phones in energy saving mode when we have. So NASA turned off some components which are not crucial for the mission to run. So that's what I was saying, that NASA decided to celebrate the 50th birthday of Voyagers.
But why is UPSC celebrating?
Because it is very much in the news.
Maybe they have seen Mission Mangalyaan.
Yeah, and mostly ISRO is also planning to use this because any other fuel we use in the spacecrafts, we cannot expect such long duration deep space missions. So we are also working on many such.
Statement 3 is also correct?
Yes, sir. Statement 3 is also correct. Plutonium-238 is a byproduct of the weapon development. Okay.
So straightforward, factual.
Yes, straightforward, factual. Whoever is regularly keeping in track with the newspapers and current affairs, and we discussed this as a part of our Conquer Prelims and UCAN initiative in classroom programs. So multiple times even I had to discuss in the class as well.
Just to give you context, UCAN is Unacademy's current affairs navigator. So every week we have 4 sessions on current affairs, and we segregate it subject-wise: polity-based current affairs, economy-based current affairs, environment-based current affairs, science and tech-based current affairs, so that at least 2 times in a particular month we will cover subject-specific current affairs. So total 16 classes in a month specifically for current affairs, where we link static and the current affairs developments. Ma'am.
And sir, with this question paper, we can more confidently say that whoever is following the UCAN, the current affairs navigator, and last minute initiatives like Conquer Prelims can completely rely on that classes.
And there are some comments that I can see in the chat as well.
Yes,
Conquer Prelims was enough.
Yes, yes.
And some of them were not aware what's Conquer Prelims, and now they're talking to each other, what is Conquer Prelims?
Yes. And what I feel about such initiatives, let it be monthly current affairs or last minute programs like Conquer Prelims, it should not be an extra burden to the students. When they are taking this particular program, that should save a lot of their personal preparation time.
That's the whole point. Otherwise,
so attending these classes and again preparing personally will be an extra burden.
Right.
So I'm very happy that our initiatives have not become an extra burden on the students, and only by relying on these programs a student can easily crack the exam. Okay. And coming to one more question, this is on the stars. Why the question came on the stars? Sir, last 1 year, minimum there are some around 30 to 40 newspaper articles on the solar storms. We have seen aurorae visible in some unusual places also.
That's something Mukesh sir and me were discussing on coffee in the morning.
Okay. And so in that context, it is not strange to ask a question about the stars. And UPSC cannot directly, like say solar storms is a buzzword, very much in the discussion. So did not ask particularly about the solar storms.
Although they did ask about metaverse.
Yes. So kept the solar storms word aside and asked about the sun's life cycle. Okay, the life cycle of sun. So from this it is important that whatever term comes in the news, we should not focus only on that term. So we should go into the basics of particular backward linkages. So what is expected for the preparation is current affairs and also basic fundamental knowledge about the topics. None of them we can avoid. Okay.
And this was also Could we say that Aditya L1 mission was
Yes,
there,
yes.
which will help us
Aditya
understand
L1.
the sun's
And in
side?
fact, Aditya L1 is also to study about the solar
yes,
storms,
exactly.
interconnected.
Exactly.
That is
Okay, the
what
whole
brought it in
purpose
news.
of Aditya L1 is to study about the solar. So sun is an important topic
Right.
now.
So looking at these questions, what do you think might be the cutoff? Because that is what our audience
Sir,
is
cutoff
wanting.
must be definitely higher than the last year, and this year
Can
the
it cross 100?
I don't think it will cross 100, sir, but it may.
So that is contingent on CSAT also.
95 to 100, I feel
95
is
to 100 can be
good
as
score
always,
to have.
Yes.
But then crossing
You
100
also have to look at the number of vacancies this time, much better.
and also
Yeah.
depending on the CSAT paper. If my gut feeling, I might be wrong, that CSAT this year they will again
Make it difficult.
Make it difficult
Yeah.
because
I
the
think
paper
let's
is
see.
easier, so they will try to
Because-
But I feel,
counterbalance to this.
I
I
feel
feel it
compared
will
to
be
last
easier.
year, it will be easier.
but
Because
still
last year it was very, very,
very
difficult.
difficult, but
Very difficult.
it will still be on the
And
tougher
it
side.
was criticized, rightly
Last
so.
time-
My hunch is cutoff would be 100 plus.
Yeah.
Last time the cutoff was 100 plus was in 2017.
Maybe you are
After
returning.
that, cutoff has not crossed 100 plus in the past 8 years.
And why I'm saying this is because I get the feeling of 2013 question paper.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Which is when the cutoff, I think, was at that time the CSAT marks would be added. It was, I think, 241.
Yeah.
Uh,
Even in 2017, for that matter, the paper was very similar.
Very
it was
similar.
102. And after that, it has not crossed that.
So my sense is it might go up to 105 to 110.
Oh,
I know I'm being a little bold here, but the paper
But
honestly
my
reminds
sense
me
is
of the
more
older
than 100.
papers.
But you
It
also
should be.
see the number of students, for example, who come regularly on our platform, who consume content. If they would have followed it, they would have been scoring 100
Scoring
plus
100 plus easily.
100 plus easy.
So on an average, we've seen lakhs of students attending these classes.
Yeah.
So even only those are the aspirants, they would have been able to score
Even
100
prelims
plus.
mock test for that matter, they would have got an idea about what framing to look at.
Yes.
They would have scored 100 plus. They could have scored.
But again, we are discounting
Yeah.
what is the thought process of an aspirant when he or she is
exam hall
in the
pressure.
Yes, the pressure in the exam hall.
Yeah. And honestly, I feel we should credit UPSC as well. Usually
Yeah.
UPSC faces a lot of criticism.
Lot of lag.
But this change every year is good. It keeps the aspirants on the edge.
But thankfully, UPSC is not like, sorry to use that word, NTA. UPSC is the most credible
Yes.
institution.
Absolutely.
in
Yes.
India.
Absolutely.
That's what students also tell us, sir. If we prepare for this exam, will there
Yeah.
be a paper leak? Is there corruption? I
Corruption.
would say no. Forget about State Public Service Commission.
Yeah,
I
yes.
may not have an idea. But UPSC is a
One of the few
thoroughly
institutions,
professional institution.
one of the few in the country which has maintained its integrity.
Right.
Yeah.
And
And the
going back to
quality
the
of-
basic pattern again reinforces that belief.
The quality of
that
questions,
Questions
and
as
the way
well.
they are checking the aspirants.
what
Exactly.
they expect out of the candidates, they are very clear.
Maybe, ma'am, you can be seated and
Yes,
let's
sir.
have a quick roundup, one final thought, one by one, before we end the session, so that the students can have their lunch. Focus well on CSAT. You don't have to overdo it now. Relax, eat light food. Mukesh sir, what do you say?
I think CSAT is very important. You need to get the score there. After that, I feel the paper overall was something which gives you a direction even for those who are preparing next year. Be encouraged by this paper. Understand what to study, what not to study, what to focus on. And as of now, all the aspirants who are watching, just ensure in CSAT, first of all, the cutoff is cleared, and then you can explore the marks.
Chetan sir.
So to those aspirants who are writing the exam today, be rest assured that this was an easy paper. If you have done your basic hard work, that is your current affairs, your static portion, if you're able to interlink the two, I'm sure that you're going to score well. So right now focus on CSAT, and for those who are attempting next year, this is a great way to look at the exam, how to determine your approach, right? Get your basics right, your static portion, your current affairs, you're sorted. Nothing else. Don't fall for what others are telling you.
Yes.
Keep it simple. I think that should do it. And join us live at 5 p.m. again, because we'll analyze the entire paper and provide the answer keys as well.
Hima ma'am?
Yes, sir. Whoever is writing the paper, maintain your calm. That is the most important thing in the exam
And
hall.
should they cross-check the answers right now? Because that would put an added additional
Pressure.
burden on them.
No, sir. Right now, just focus on maintaining your mindset for the exam. In my opinion, the complete 1 year preparation is equal to whatever is your attitude in the exam hall. So maintain your calm and your attitude, your confidence in the exam hall. Forget about the GS paper. It is quite simple. And whoever is preparing for the next year, this paper is a good motivation. So the things are under control. You know what to prepare. So that's it.
And that's precisely the reason why we are not discussing all the questions right now. Otherwise, we could have discussed it now. We don't want to put an additional burden on you because maybe some of you would be super excited. And because of that super excited stage, you might commit mistakes in CSAT and may not qualify it.
Yeah.
Similarly, those who have unfortunately not done well, there is an added pressure. Maybe the cutoff would go down. Maybe the CSAT, you are very strong in CSAT. CSAT is a difficult paper that might come and you're stronger there and you might ace it. So you never know. That's why even if you're watching this video, just to get a sense of what is the way forward, in what direction did the UPSC ask these questions? Because just like opinion polls or exit polls,
especially this year.
because this exam is a democratic exam, so you should know how others are also performing, because after all, it's a competitive exam. So please don't start cross-checking your answers by downloading the answer key prepared by institutes in a hurried fashion, and which have had a lot of mistakes in the past. Focus on your CSAT. Once you're going back home, maybe you can attend the session that we will conduct at 5 p.m. We will discuss all the 100 questions one by one. That's the time when you should analyze the answers, whether you have done well or you're falling short, but nevertheless, don't give up. I always maintain and reiterate there are only two kinds of aspirants: those who quit, those who persist. If you will not quit, there is no power on earth that can stop you from realizing your dream of becoming a bureaucrat, of becoming a civil servant. Stay calm, stay confident, but don't be overconfident. There's a thin line between overconfidence and low confidence. You have done well, you will do great in CSAT as well. Once you're done with CSAT, come join us again at 5 p.m. and we will analyze the question paper, and by then we will get a lot of insights from others as well, how they have performed. We have already started receiving mails from the students, some encouragement, some good stuff as well. Let's wait and watch how others have performed. Till then, have a great time, stay safe, stay best, stay hydrated, stay calm. All the best.
All the best.
All the
best.
best. All the best.